Hello, everyone. Welcome to Imaginations project by UMAC Futures. My name is Zhao Ke, the director of the Electronic Science and Technology Museum, University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. I'm here in Chengdu, China, and we have a guest from New Zealand today. And I also work as a board member of the UMAC and the chair of the UMAC Futures, which is an organization of emerging scholars from university museums around the world. So as you may know, we started a series of online interviews from around the world since 2019, the Imaginations Project. Last year, we have extended this project to all the scholars, emerging and senior. Everyone in the university museum community could join us. So for now, we have interviewed 21 colleagues from 11 countries. The project aims to listen to their work and research their voice to follow their imaginations. So it is kind of the description and the observation, aiming to re-image and reconstruct the university museum in the new era. For each of us has great imaginations. We believe it will bring more hope, energy, and vitality. So if you are interested, you could access all the recordings on the UMAC website and YouTube channel. The UMAC 2023 was hosted at the Chow Chak Wing Museum in University of Sydney. This year, the University of Dresden will host the UMAC and the Universum 2024 conference. Today, we have a colleague from New Zealand. We will meet in Dresden in person in September. Let's welcome Nigel Bond from University of Auckland. So could you please say hello and give us a brief introduction of yourself and the cultural heritage in University of Auckland? Please, Nigel.
Kia ora, and thank you, Zhao. Kia ora tātou, ko takaranga te maunga, ko Waitemata awa, no tamaki aho, ko Bond tuka whānau, ko Nigel Bond tuka wingawa. Hi everybody, my name is Nigel Bond and I am the manager of the Cultural Collections Department at the University of Auckland. We are situated within Te Tumu Heringa, which is the Auckland University's Library and Learning Services. We're a small department. I have a team of 11 curators and archivists and researchers. So Cultural Collections itself is responsible for the university's taonga, its treasures, its cultural heritage collections, and also the University of Auckland Art Collection. So we provide a whole host of services across the university. So we offer research services for staff and students. We manage the university's reading room. We also do quite a lot of teaching in our collection spaces. So we're attached to and work closely with a number of academics across the different faculties around the university. So we either offer teaching spaces where we'll use our collections across a board of disciplines, or we teach across discipline-specific courses. So we work in conjunction with the academics to help develop programs. Sometimes the academics run the course themselves. Sometimes our team run the course. So it really depends on what the academics want and the nature of the collections that we have and how the students and staff want to engage with the collections. We're open to the public, even though we don't have a museum, a proper museum or gallery across the university. A lot of our collections are on display around the university and also within the university library. So we manage the collections, we process and make them available to students. And we work directly with researchers who come in and are looking for specific collections for their research.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. So as you mentioned, you have a very broad view for the students and staffs in the university, and also to the public, right? So it's very it's very great to know the university connections, how you take advantage of them to education to the students and the public. So afterwards, we have several kind of four simple questions for you. So let's just get started. And we have enough time for you to share your work and the research in details. So the first question is, what is the specific project or program you are working on right now, and why is it? Because I got to know that from your experience, from your background, you are good at the study of visitor, the tourism or something like that. And you have worked in Australia, some public museum. So for now, what is your research and what is your project?
Well, as you mentioned, and as I mentioned earlier, we have multiple projects right across the, I guess, the nature of the services that we deliver. When I was thinking about the question, one of the things I was thinking about was a project we've just finished, was actually working with a public broadcasting company in the north of New Zealand. And what we were doing was we're working with them to help them develop an AI transcription service for Te Reo Māori. So it was a project that involved a number of stakeholders across the university. The media company themselves, Te Media, had developed an AI, a language learning model to translate Te Reo Māori, to transcribe rather Te Reo Māori. But it was based primarily on broadcast media, so clear media with no background noise, a single speaker or might be an interviewer, so material that's specifically broadcast. Whereas what we want to know is whether or not an AI engine could actually work with the material which a lot of GLAM sector museums, galleries, archives like ourselves work with. So this is media or recordings that were made, actually recorded during the field. They might have been made on reel-to-reel tape. They might have been small cassette tapes or DAT tapes. I mean, we have collections that we look after. One of our major collections is this thing called the Archive of Māori and Pacific Sound. And now that's a sound archive that was created by researchers like anthropologists, social researchers, cultural studies, archaeologists who are working around New Zealand and the Pacific from the 1910 right through to the present day. So these are field recordings that we're interested in being able to have transcribed. So the recordings are of song. They might be of what we call waiata, which is musical songs or musical performance. It might be dance, it might be ritual, whatever it is that the researchers were studying in that early period when they were working throughout the Pacific. So the quality of these recordings may be quite poor. There's multiple voices, there's a lot of background noise. So what we wanted to know was whether or not an AI engine would be able to actually determine the nature of the recordings, determine the voice, and then transcribe the language, because a lot of our material is either in Pacific languages or it might be in Te Reo Māori. So we're working specifically in this project on an AI model that can transcribe Te Reo Māori. So from a sound recording, produce a text transcript of that recording. So we are working with the developers at Te Media to actually see if what they were working on could help with the collections that we have. It was a great project because it involved collaboration with the media company themselves, with the developers, with the software engineers, with our Māori and Pacific team that we have on staff across the university. Who help guide the ethics of the process, because obviously working with Indigenous languages, there are a lot of tikanga or cultural process that needs to be involved. There's a lot of collaboration and permissions that are involved with this project as well. So it was a really exciting project for a whole host of reasons. We also got to work with a lot of other GLAM sector professionals, so museum professionals across New Zealand, to actually say, well, where do you see AI being involved with a project like this? What kind of material do you have in your collections that a model like this would be valuable or useful for them? So we had a lot of input from professionals from across the country, which was a great part of the project. Obviously for us, it's really important that we're able to do this because this collection is, one of our key collections. It's highly used across the university and also throughout New Zealand and internationally as well, because a lot of the dialects that were recorded at this time, there are very few speakers of that particular dialect now. So for us to be able to preserve and capture and then transcribe this, make it available to staff and students and academics, not only within our own university but nationally, internationally, is hugely important for us. So it's a great project for us to be working on.
Yeah, thank you, Nigel. I would say that you have very close relationships with companies and industries. That's very good for the connections of media and the broadcasting. And we have a connection of media and the broadcasting in our storage, but most of the objects are the instruments, not the archives. So I'm so generous that you have so many kinds of materials of the archives. And the second point is that just now you mentioned you use AI engine to get involved with archives. And I would like to know a little bit more about this. First, how many pieces of the objects you have in the archives, and the second, how you use the AI engine in nature to help you to support your research.
Yeah, sure. Within the Archive of Māori and Pacific Sound is just one of the archives that we hold. In our collections, we also have a broadcast media archive as well, which we also use. We're actively collecting broadcast media around social history, around politics, around I guess societal change. So it's an important part of the university, I guess, research field. But for the Archive of Māori and Pacific Sound, there are several thousand recordings that we hold, both from researchers working in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but also across the Pacific. So there are multiple languages involved with this archive. And we're slowly working through them. We're trying to catalogue them. We're trying to process them. At the moment, we're having a lot of this material digitized as well. So we're outsourcing to a company that's actually digitizing it for us because we don't have the capabilities to be able to do it in-house. Because it is so heavily used within teaching, transcriptions of the recordings is hugely important. So originally the project was set up to actually look at developing an AI engine ourselves, so working with engineers within the University of Auckland to try and create something that would help us transcribe these recordings. During our kind of scoping exercise, we discovered that there was a company in New Zealand that had actually already developed an engine. And so we reached out to them and said, look, we've got this project, we've got all of this amazing historical recordings in lots of different formats. Do you want to come and work with us? And they jumped on board. They were like, this is a fantastic opportunity. So we were able to, so it really benefited both the media company themselves because they had a different kind of data set that they could work with. And also for us as well, because we wanted to know, is it feasible for a project of this nature? Can the engine be actually used to help us transcribe the data? We're really mindful of working with working with Indigenous languages or First Nations languages because there are a lot of conversations to be had around data sovereignty and intellectual property. So we were really clear when we started working with the company that we were really just testing it none of our data was uploaded to their engine, so it was all kept in-house. So we weren't handing over any of our data, and we made that really clear. But for them, they were really interested to know, could their engine cope with the kind of quality that was involved with a lot of our collections. So what we were doing was they gave us access to their portal, and what we were able to do was run through a number of different kinds of media that we had. Like I said, there was a single voice, there was interviews, there was singing or wider, musical performance, and we wanted to know, how good the engine would be to work with this kind of material. The other thing we did was we were working with fluent Tadao speakers who were actually quality controlling the transcriptions that were coming from the engines. So we were able to use the engine to transcribe very short snippets of recordings, and then we would compare that. We would have a fluent speaker do their own translation, or not translation, their own transcription of that recording, and then we would compare them just to see what that error rate was for the engine. And that was really interesting because the error rates for broadcast media for the engine are really low. It's really good at that very clear recording. For our kind of material, though, where there's a lot of background noise, it was a bit less accurate because there were so many other things going on within the recording. So again, that's useful for us, and it's useful for the developers to know as well, and to be able to see, what they can do to improve the kind of the way that their model works.
Okay, great to hear that, Nigel. And are you going to report this in Dresden? In Dresden, or are you going to report others?
Yeah, I'm not speaking
Okay.
in Dresden. I'm just there as a delegate. But I think that, it was a really interesting project, and we know that when we talk to our colleagues across the museum sector, not only the university sector, but the other museums around the country, there's a lot of interest in a project like this. It's quite early in its stage of development, and so there's still a lot of work to do. And I know other people are working on similar similar AI models. So it was a really good place to start.
Yes, I think it's a great starting point, and I think in the future, in university museum community, we would like to talk more about that. And there is more and more space for AGI or something, and how to use it in for the connections. I think it's just at the very beginning, first to digitalize, right, and then how to enhance, how to make it clear, and how to do some comparison, something like that. Okay, and let's move to the second question. We can talk more in Dresden, right? So let's just move to the second question. In the past several years, you have been working in the university museum, and can you describe the most unforgettable experience in the past period?
Sure. Look, I think, as I said, just working with our students, being able to, one of the big parts of my team's role is to share the collections with our students, and I think we've been working really hard over the last couple of years to build our teaching program. So that's one of the things that we're really excited about. One of the projects that we've been working on in the last few years is we work quite closely with our museum studies students, and as part of the work that we do, they're embedded within our department for it might be a semester. They might come in for a day a week, and we come up with a project together. And at the end of that project, one of their options is to create an exhibition. So we actually work with the museum studies students themselves, and they'll actually help create an exhibition that might last for, it might be only on for about 6 weeks or a couple of months, but it gives the students real hands-on experience to actually create an exhibition. They get to learn everything from curating the works that go into that exhibition, to writing labels, to writing little blog stories, or the interpretive text that'll go along with that exhibition. So I think that's probably the thing that I enjoy most. But we also commission projects as well, and one of the things we look after is the art collection. And one of the things that we do is when a new building opens, a new university building opens, part of our role is to curate the artworks that go into that building. And we've just finished a project where we had an opportunity to work with one of New Zealand's, foremost Māori artists, and to create a work. It was a digital work for the opening of a new building. And what we created, or what she created for us, was a 6-meter tall digital moving image work for the main foyer of a new building that only opened a couple of weeks ago. So we had a formal opening, we had a blessing, we had community members come in from across the Auckland region. We had the artist family there for the opening. And so that's the kind of experience that we'll never forget, because it's the most wonderful digital artwork that was created with students from across the university. It's a dance work, so it's a dance piece. The dancers were students or ex-students wearing amazing costume, representing the different atua or gods across the Māori pantheon, and it's just a phenomenal piece. And so when something like that opens, the ceremony around the opening of an event like that, particularly one that is a collaboration between students, former students, it's just a great experience. So that's probably one of the highlights of this year, I think, for us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nigel. And I'm totally with you that the students is a unique feature for university museums compared with other museums. So we all, as teachers, we all enjoy the time, the experience working with them. So I feel that, and I'm glad to know that you have excellent hands-on program or hands-on research for the students. We also do some curation project in our university museum, and we attract different students from different backgrounds, maybe microelectronics, computers, science, or something, engineering students and science students, to get into one group. And we don't have the museology discipline in our university, and we don't have the design and art. So we just have some students from humanity, and with science students, engineering students, they get into a group, and they work together to curate exhibitions. So later we'll talk about the project. And so the students are our treasures. Okay, let's move to the third question. Because as I know that you are very good at the research on visitor and the tourism, and what is the research field for now, and in the next years, what is the research you are working on?
I guess personally, because I come from an academic teaching background as well as museum background. I think it's really important that that those of us that work within, not only university museum, but the museum sector broadly, is that we undertake as much research as we can. And for us, it's about, again, what we do is around highlighting the collections that we house. So doing research within our own collections, and highlighting the value and importance and significance of that material. At the moment, I'm writing a research paper with two of my other colleagues. So with my art advisor, art curator, and also with our media services curator and manager. And that paper itself it's looking at, I guess you call it curatorial intent, because we don't have a large museum on campus. What we are doing is curating the spaces across the university in a particular way with a particular intent. Historically, the university collections, particularly the art collection, had a kind of an ad hoc curatorial intent, and that is we'd be contacted by, it might be academics, to say we'd like an artwork that shows such and such a thing, or we'd like this particular work in this particular space. But what we're trying to do is create a space now, particularly with our artworks, that align to university principles around Te Ao Māori. So working with our Māori colleagues to create spaces that are culturally safe and representative of all the different communities across the university. And so the paper we're writing on is about it's about museums and cultural identity and how we can create culturally safe spaces using our curatorial works. Yeah, so it's a research paper for the Curator magazine, the Curator journal. So yeah, it's kind of looking at how we can foster community spaces with our curatorial voice, I guess.
Okay, Nigel. Yes, because someone has we have the database in the UMAC website, and you can check it in the UMAC official website. We have a database of the university museums from the whole world. But yeah, it's not complete, but I think we have over 3,000 terms, 3,000
Wow.
university museums.
Okay.
Yeah, but they are just some basic information, no? And Martin Stricker, a colleague from Germany, he built with Marta Norenko, the former president, the former chair of the UMAC, and you can check some information there. And in the database, we can know there's a certain ratio of the university museums who have no space of museum building. So it's a certain point. It's a specific point of the university museum. So it's okay. But what I get to know from your ideas is it's very great that the whole campus or the whole space, we could create it or transfer it into museum building or museum space. So I'm so looking forward to your research paper, honestly speaking, and look forward to see the paper in the Curator journal. And
thank you.
We are trying to, we have a museum building, and then the space is always limited. It's always limited. We have permanent exhibition, we have some temporary exhibitions, but we would like to extend them more and more. So sometimes we work with departments, chemistry or communication information department. With them, we get some connections from our storage. Some objects we do not use in the permanent exhibition, and then we organize some students, some professors get into a group and curate and a small exhibition in the building of information communication department.
Yeah, and I think if you don't have, like for us, for example, because if you don't have your own spaces, being able to engage and bring other spaces alive is really important. I mean, we will take objects into a lecture theatre or into a studio, for example. We
Theater.
have a large
Mm-hmm.
architectural collection, which is used quite a lot by the architecture school, and so we'll bring works into a studio and actually run a workshop using historic drawings or building plans, with the students, with the lecturers. And the idea is we engage them with the collections in spaces where
Yeah.
they are. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important. We'll take a small class on, it might be the history of art within New Zealand in a building that has artworks in it. And so we'll walk
Mm-hmm.
around the building with the students and talk
Yeah.
about the artworks as they hang in a building, because we can show how artworks can speak to each other. They can tell stories when they're placed next to each other. You can juxtapose
Mm-hmm.
artworks together when you curate them. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's about making the most of any space that you have across a campus and giving students an opportunity to work hands-on with material. That's the difference between a university museum, I guess, and another museum where we have objects that we use every day in teaching, and we talk to students about it's okay to handle objects in our spaces. We teach them how to handle objects. We teach them the correct way to handle a rare book or a rare manuscript.
Yeah.
But the thrill that the students get when they're actually hands-on working with these historic objects or these rare objects or important or significant objects, it's just wonderful.
Yeah. 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 Thank you, Nigel. And it reminds me of a project one of our professor in our university do. They just want to help the students to study the city design, how to design a city, the streets, the road, something like that. And that lesson is for the accessibility. So the professor just asks all the students to sit down on the wheelchair and take a round in the campus to feel how if you someone and how is building or how are the roads, the streets for the accessibility. Yeah. Okay.
That's a great idea,
Nigel.
great project.
Yes, and the students get to know and experience themselves, so it's better to get the knowledge get the experience, just compare with from the knowledge from the books, and that's a hands-on project. Yeah. Okay, let's just move to the last question. It's very interesting that this question we called it the relay question, because the question was proposed by the last speaker and last guest. So this time you have to answer the question from the last speaker. She is Lan Yang from Hanyang University, from South Korea. And her question is, as a university museum, how can we improve the accessibility for the university campus and the community?
Look, this is I think a really interesting and important question. It really speaks to the heart of what we do as professionals who work in universities with collections. And I think the most important thing is actually getting your collections and making them visible and making them available. Like any museum, we have only a small proportion of material is out on display. We have a lot of material that isn't on display. So it's how do we get students access to that? So we do that through our collection management system. So trying to make our collections as available as we can, and that's through the various. It might be through websites. It might be through. For us, we have quite a lot of archival collections, which we promote through the university library catalogue system, for example. So researchers can go onto the library website and they can access material, they can search the material. So it's about getting material visible and accessible and searchable. But it's more than that. It's really about engaging with the students and taking the work that you do into where the students are and engage them. We do that, as I was saying, through our teaching programs. We do it through our exhibition programs. We do a lot of work in a virtual space. So a physical exhibition is one thing we do, but we also do a lot of virtual work as well. So putting online exhibitions, which are available through the website. We publicise new collections coming in through the university media channels, through social media. We engage with academics directly. So the university library, where we're situated, has an academic engagement team who meet with the deans on a regular basis across the faculties. So we go to those meetings, we provide our own engagement staff with materials so they can talk about the different kinds of things that we do. We run these sessions, which are hugely popular, called the mystery book sessions, where that's run through the university's professional development program. And so, and it's specifically for staff. So they get to come in and they get to work with some of the rarest and the oldest books that we have in our collections. And we talk to them about handling rare books. We talk to them about the history of the books. We talk about book binding and illustrating and all this kind of thing. And it opens up some of the barriers that a lot of people have around particularly special collections and rare books. There's a perception often that, there's a mystery about these collections, or students can't access them, or, they're afraid to come into the space because they don't feel it's the right space for them. So we work really hard to break down those boundaries, to break down any social or economic boundaries that may be real or perceived around coming into a space like ours, because they are confronting in the sense that people think, oh, we need to wear white gloves, and which isn't the case with the materials that we use, with most of the materials that we use. So it's about engaging students and staff with your collections and having your collections visible and accessible across a whole host of physical and virtual channels.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. So you do a lot of all kinds of things to help to support students to learn, and you just focus on how to enhance the function of the connections, how we can use the connection, and how to use the connection emerge with our all the research and the work. Okay, thank you for the answer. And so as today's guest, you have to propose a question for the next speaker.
Right, thank you. Now, I was thinking long and hard about this, and the question I just answered was actually the first question that I thought about, because that's really important. How do we stay relevant as a university museum? But I think the question I would like to ask is, I mean, universities are always at the forefront of research and technology, whether that's in the arts or sciences or any of the other disciplines. So how can we, as people who work in a university museum, how do we use and engage with emerging technologies to enhance our collections, enhance the accessibility of our collections? How do we use something like AI? What are the benefits? But what are the challenges of AI for any museum professional, but particularly those that work in museums? So that's my question.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. It's a very great question, and I think the question deserves a special seminar. All of our colleagues, I think, after the Chat GPT or something AIGC, we have to think completely think about the thing, how it will change our world and how it will change the education. Yes, thank you, Nigel. And we are looking forward to the answer of the next speaker. And I will tell you the answer. Yeah. Okay. The time flies, and it's a very wonderful and fruitful talk with you, Nigel. I learned a lot, and all the 4 questions. That's all from me today. And many thanks to you and to our audience. And I would like to see UMAC futures. The future of UMAC we are coming. So see you next time. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Nigel.
Kia ora, ka pai. Thank you.